Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a little process video for you today. I am going to be creating a little journal to work through hints and whispers from Bythewell4God. I'm actually going to be doing all of my journal entries in my journaling Bible because I just want to use the papers and stuff, but I want to also use these file folders, and so I thought I would make a little journal because I've already read through the devotional and I know I'm going to need some extra places for notes. So I'm going to make a little tiny journal out of these file folders. And there are 8 that come in the pack, so I've pulled some from my stash that will coordinate, I feel like, just some kind of neutral ones, and then that kind of cranberry colored one was actually from the Red Sea Rules earlier this year that I had left over. And so what I'm going to do is kind of put these together and alternate them so that they're kind of a pattern and then maybe a more neutral one, and just kind of alternate those all the way through. And I also want to alternate where the little lip of the file is. Just I don't want all of them in the same place, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of going through here and just checking to make sure I have the order of everything correct. And then as I'm going through here, I realize that if I want to see the pattern, the main pattern of these file folders, I'm gonna have to turn them inside out. I had folded them the wrong direction. So I'm just gonna go through here and do all that and get everything kind of back in the order that I want it, so that I can see, because I'm basically going to be gluing these file folders to themselves to create some pockets and to create my little journal. So I'm leaving them kind of in line how I want them, and I'm taking my bone folder and I'm going to burnish the fold on all of those as I go. And I'm using art glitter glue. You could use Barely Arts glue. You could use really anything, any kind of liquid glue. I just happen to have this one right now, and so I'm trying to use it up. But what I want to do is just do a thin line across the bottom and along one side, because I don't know, I want to leave myself the flexibility to either create a pocket from the top where I can slide a tag down in, or a tuck spot on along the side. And so it's kind of leaves me the flexibility that my journal will be put together, but depending on how I end up putting in the pocket, I can always glue down one of the other sides that I need to. So I'm just going to go through here and glue those 2 sides of each one of these file folders, and I'm going to glue them together. Now, as you're gluing them together, they're going to get, thicker and thicker. So I'm using the surface of my desk to make sure that I'm getting all of this lined up really well. So I'm kind of just along that bottom edge, just kind of making sure that that's flush on my desk, and then kind of bringing the file folder up to that, and then just holding it there for a second. I don't want it to move around too much. I'm just going to hold that in place and just making sure the whole time that it's even. And then I went through and I added a bunch of glue over the edge. This is kind of the same way that you would create like a perfect binding if you had like loose leaf sheets of paper. And then I'm just going to leave it to sit in my little book cradle here. You could put some like binder clips on it and just let it rest, but I just want to let all that glue dry. So you can see here now that it's dry, it's clear and everything, and my book is ready to go. It's just a real simple journal this time, mostly just for tucking in my notes. And but I do want to create something to kind of cover that spine. Certainly you could leave it open if you wanted to, but I have this piece of it's kind of a heavy canvas. This actually came from my A House of Books subscription, and I just want to trim this down. So I am using this little We Are Memory Keepers little cutting mat and this metal folder or metal ruler. I love this because it's magnetic, so it's going to kind of hold it in place while I am using my rotary cutter to just trim this down to the size that I need. I'm just kind of squaring up this little scrap of fabric that I have. I just felt like it went really well with the journal, so I'm just going to use that, and want to make sure that it's the right length and everything. And then what I am also going to do is kind of create a curved spine around the outside. I don't want to get this I don't want to get it too tight, if that makes sense, because I know that this little book is going to get full of notes and journaling cards and things, and so I need it to be able to expand as well. And so if you put the fabric around, if you wrap it too tight, you won't be able to kind of do that as easily. So again, just trimming this down using the metal edge of a ruler here and my rotary cutter, and just trimming it down to the right size. I can't remember the exact size of these file folders, but you could do this really with anything. So I have it trimmed down now, and I'm going to glue it. And you could use the same liquid glue. I'm actually going to use score tape. The scrapbook scrapbook.com version of score tape. You can kind of see if I put it too tight, that really affects the spine. So I am just going to use, just happen to have this size that's kind of perfect for this. But you could use the skinnier one and just do a couple strips of it if you needed to. So I'm going to run that along both the front and the back cover along that spine edge. And then I'm going to burnish that down really well to make sure that my adhesive is going to stick there. And it should be fine with this fabric, but you could certainly use a fabric glue, Fabri-Tac or something like that if you wanted to. But I just like the double-sided adhesive for this one. I don't want it to be sliding around while it dries. So I'm peeling off the one side, and then I'm actually holding the fabric on the back side where the adhesive is still covered, so that I can get it kind of lined up where I want it. Because you can see here how I'm gonna just leave it a little bit open there, a little bit rounded on that spine. So I'm just gonna line that up with my cover on the front and then press that down. And then I'll do the release paper on the back side, but I want to kind of create that little bump so that there's just a little bit of extra space for this spine to expand a little bit. So I don't want to do it real flush. I'm just going to kind of do this basically to really the edge of where that score tape is. And then, and that is really going to do it for my journal. It's just going to be really simple. Like I said, mostly just to keep some extra notes in, because I plan on journaling through this devotional in my interleaved Bible. So you can kind of see how the pockets are. And then I just kind of felt like it needed a little bit of something extra on the cover. So I have this this ribbon or this trim from Hobby Lobby, and it just happens to be the perfect size. So I cut a couple of strands of that, and I'm going to glue this. Now this one I actually am going to use fabric. Well, I'm not using Fabri-Tac, but you could use Fabri-Tac. I'm using Helmar glue here, just a clear, strong glue that's going to hold this in place, and it's going to dry quickly. So I'm going to do that to the front and back, and I cut those edges just a little bit long, and then I will, once this is completely dry, I will trim those down. But I wanted to have I wanted to use liquid glue here because it will dry. If you don't want to use a like a score tape or something behind a piece of fabric or piece of lace like this, because it will stay sticky through those holes. So and then this is basically how my little journal is going to look. I'll have areas I can create pockets in the file folders, and then I'll have areas in between the file folders where they're glued together that I can slip a tag or a journaling card or some extra notes or some prayers or just whatever as I see fit as I'm going through the devotional. So just going to make sure this is really nice and dry, and then I'm going to trim this up just so that it looks nice. I don't think it's going to fray. I think it should be okay, but you could always add a little bit of extra glue right at the ends if you were worried about that. I know there is an adhesive that does that. I can't remember what it's called. It's a sewing adhesive, but anyway, fray check or something like that, I think is what it's called. Anyway, so I'm just doing a little flip through here of my pages so you can kind of see how my little journal is going to come together. And I may do a tie or something around it depending on how chunky it gets at the end. But anyway, that's it for me. So if you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.